The movie opens at Oksu Station in Seoul, South Korea, where a man observes a girl exhibiting unusual behavior and assumes she might be intoxicated. He shares his observations with someone via chat and takes a photo of the scene. The girl's actions become increasingly bizarre as she begins banging her head against a pillar. This unnerves the man, and he notices that everyone in the chat is claiming that the girl is a ghost. Suddenly, he realizes that the girl has vanished, prompting him to investigate the area. While he searches for her, the station's door unexpectedly opens, and an announcement is made that a train is approaching. As time passes without the train's arrival, the man bends down to get a closer look. In a horrifying turn of events, the door closes abruptly, severing his head and resulting in his demise. Following the eerie incident at Oksu Station, the movie introduces a character named Kim, who works as a reporter and writer for a company called Daily Madu. She encounters a person at Oksu Station and proceeds to take photographs of her, eventually crafting an article about this individual. However, Kim later discovers that the person she photographed was actually a man who has taken legal action against her for taking pictures and writing articles about him without his consent. In this situation, the man is demanding $50,000 to settle the matter, and Kim approaches her boss Miss Mo to discuss the issue. She places the responsibility squarely on her, stating that she will have to resolve the situation since it was her fault. She also suggests that if she were in her shoes, she would either plead with the accuser to withdraw the lawsuit or search for news stories that could generate more advertising revenue for their company. Kim goes to Yuan, the person who informed her about the accuser, and inquires whether he possesses his contact information. However, he informs her that he does not have his number. Later that evening, Yuan and Seung-jun share an eerie story with Kim. They inform her about a man who died the previous night at their station. When Yuan was on duty that night, he observed a man wandering on the old platform. He promptly reported this to his chief. However, when the chief checked the CCTV footage, the screen suddenly went blank. Consequently, the chief instructed Yuan to go to the old platform since a deadhead train is on its way. Yuan acts swiftly and arrives at the old platform to deal with the situation. He calls out to the man, urging him to come up from the tracks, but the man remains silent. Yuan ventures onto the tracks to rescue him. However, he gets shocked to see a girl sitting there on the side. Kim states that if there had been another witness, their story would have had more credibility. Yuan then mentions that the funeral director Yom also witnessed the child on the tracks. The next day, she visits Yom, where she sees a girl leaving the place. Kim discusses Yom's background, revealing that his father had a strong spiritual connection and could have become a shaman, but ended up working as an embalmer. He started embalming bodies when he was just 10 years old, right after Oksu Station first opened, and his first body was that of an accident victim torn to pieces. Kim inquires about the child Yom witnessed at the accident site the previous night. The scene shifts to that night when Yom is collecting body parts. He encounters the child and asks for her name. In response, the child points to a board with the number 1211 written on it. Suddenly, the chief screams, drawing Yom's attention to a leg lying nearby. When he looks back at the child, she has disappeared. Kim contacts Yuan and expresses her anticipation of her article garnering a significant number of views. She asks Yuan if he can obtain a copy of the security camera footage, explaining that articles of this nature won't carry much credibility without accompanying photos. Later that evening, Yuan is in the station's washroom when he hears a noise coming from one of the toilets. He investigates and is initially frightened, but it turns out to be Xiang playing a prank on him. Yuan is not amused by the joke and walks away in frustration. After Yuan leaves, Xiao notices the number 1013 written on the mirror. Yuan then encounters the conductor who is repeating the number 0329. Later, he gives the footage to Kim and mentions that he saw the conductor at the station, even though he is not affiliated with the station, and it feels strange to see him near the accident scene. Kim arrives at the station and finds the conductor sitting on a platform. As she approaches him, she notices a girl nearby who seems familiar. Kim introduces herself and requests an interview with him. She asks him why he is still at the station, to which he points a mirror in front of them and says it won't come off, although Kim cannot see it. She also notices wounds on his body and inquires if he saw anyone else at the accident. He mentions that two were present and repeats the number 0329. As she follows the conductor, she receives a call from her editor who tells her that the story is incredible and needs to be posted online as soon as possible. After ending the call with her editor, Kim continues to follow the conductor and presses him to explain the significance of the number he mentioned on the platform. The conductor insists that he must say it, and he starts repeating the number 0329 once more. As Kim expresses concern and asks if he is alright, the conductor turns into a demon. Now on the way to Oksu Station, she notices that everyone on the train is reading her article. As she prepares to exit the train, a ghostly hand grabs her leg. But she awakens from this nightmarish scenario to find herself back in her office. To her surprise, everyone in the office congratulates her, and her editor informs her that she's become the fastest reporter to reach 300,000 views on her article. They predict that at the current rate, the story will likely reach 1 million views by the next day. However, their celebration is interrupted when Miss Mo arrives and inquires about the timing of Kim's interview with the conductor. She explains that she interviewed him around 10 o'clock, and she becomes concerned when Miss Mo reveals that the conductor had committed suicide around 9 o'clock the previous night. Kim rushes to the station to review the camera footage, and she is horrified to discover that during her interview at the station, she was seemingly talking to no one. As she continues to watch the footage, she witnesses the chilling truth. The conductor's lifeless body was hanging there during her encounter with him. Back at the office, Miss Mo confronts Kim, suggesting that if she fabricated the interview with the conductor and invented the story, she should resign immediately. However, their conversation is interrupted by the editor, who reveals that he received a call from the sister of the Oksu victim, specifically asking to speak with Kim. At Teehee's house, Kim is startled to discover that the woman is the same individual she had seen at Yeom's house and at the platform on multiple occasions. When Kim inquires why she wanted to see her, she explains that her brother, who worked as a chef, unexpectedly went to the Oksu Station platform, which has sealed off wells beneath it. Her father had also met a tragic fate at the station's opening, falling from the platform, but she and her brother have no recollection of the incident. Teehee shares her frustration about not being able to remember and how she believes her brother might have gone to find the well for her. She then screams at her and asks her, is it too hard to believe? But then she expresses her desire to believe that her brother's death was not in vain and apologizes for her outburst. Kim reassures her that no death is meaningless, and she feels ashamed that the accident had a victim whose story she didn't investigate thoroughly. Kim delves into the station's archives and discovers that there was indeed a well at the location where the mysterious events have been occurring. She sends a picture of this discovery to Teehee, who is taken aback to learn that the place used to be an orphanage. When Kim contacts Teehee and asks if she has seen the photo of the well, Teehee confirms that it matches her recollection of the location but admits that she cannot recall anything about the orphanage itself. Kim and Yoon return to see the dead body of the conductor at Yeom's place. While Kim is photographing the body, she becomes haunted by the conductor's spirit. Yeom discusses with Kim the reason he allowed her to film this scene, explaining that for over 30 years since the opening of Oksu Station, all the victims who died there had these unusual scratches. He believes that Kim is trying to expose this phenomenon to the world. Yeom then shows Kim a file containing records of all the victims, and Yoon notices that Yeom himself has similar scratch marks on his hand. Yoon is taken aback when he sees two ghostly hands gripping Yeom's neck. Yeom explains that his father once told him that there was a deep-seated grudge surrounding Oksu Station. Kim inquires about the recent increase in accidents at the station, and Yeom clarifies that there haven't been many accidents but rather a series of stacked incidents. He adds that subway accidents are usually seen as mundane and therefore do not garner much attention. Yoon questions why innocent bystanders are receiving the curse, to which Yeom explains that grudges initially target those who have harmed you. But over time, when you realize no one will help, the hatred expands to encompass anyone. Teehee stumbles upon a diary with numerical entries, and upon seeing these numbers, she experiences a sudden vision where she hears the number 1001. She then discovers an old photograph of herself, her brother, and their father standing in front of the same orphanage. Once again, she hears the number 1001, which terrifies her. Driven by curiosity and concern, Teehee goes to that side but finds nothing there. Only then she receives a text message from Kim, saying that tomorrow's article will be even more astonishing, and she assures her that she will upload her brother's story soon. The next day, the editor tells Kim that this morning's article already hit 1 million views. People are reacting to the story and they are taking selfies there. He shows her the photos, but Kim gets worried seeing scratch marks on their hands. She asks him what if they get into accidents, to which he says they will get more clicks, more ads, and make more money. She then goes to Miss Mo, who says $10,000 for yesterday's article and $10,000 for today's, and asks her to hit the jackpot 3 more times, and the company will take care of her settlement. Kim tells her that she would like to write about the victim, Kang Tae-ho, because his reason for going to the old platform is interesting. He apparently went there to find an old Oksu well. Miss Mo says this one feels off and asks her to write something else. Later that evening, Yoon notices the same scratch marks on Seung's body and asks him about it, to which he says it just appeared and it's quite annoying to see it get worse. Outside, Seung notices the summer girl passing by, and he says shouldn't they grab him and call Kim, but Yoon says let him be, as her paper has decided to take care of it. The summary girl goes to the washroom, and we see scratches on her body. Simultaneously, the lights in the washroom start flickering, and suddenly, a ghost materializes before her, causing her to panic. The ghost begins scratching her, intensifying her fear and distress, and she falls into one of the toilets and dies. Xiao receives a message about screens in the women's washroom at exit 3. He investigates and finds someone crying in a toilet. When he looks closer, he sees a ghost in the toilet. Then, another ghost appears behind him, and it's implied that he meets a similar fate as the others in the station. Kim is at Xiao's funeral when she receives a text from her editor, instructing her to write a provocative story with an interesting title. While she's there, a detective confronts her, expressing his earlier warning against writing sensational ghost stories for the sake of internet popularity. He questions why people connected to her stories seem to meet unfortunate ends. Kim defends herself, denying any intention to harm anyone and challenging the detective's insinuations. Kim meets with Yuan, who shares an unsettling experience. He recounts seeing a girl with the number 0816 on her dress, and then shows her a scratch on his hand. Later, Yuan says that the conductor, that tranny, and even Xiao died after getting this scratch, so he will end up like them too. He asks her what those numbers mean, to which she says that's not important right now, and if he doesn't want to die for nothing, stay alert. Later that night, Yuan experiences intense fear as he sees a ghost approaching him. Multiple ghosts seem to surround and capture him, and he finds himself inside the well. Despite his attempts to escape, he encounters Xiao's ghost, but he abruptly awakens from sleep. Kim comes there to ask him if he is okay, to which he reveals that he keeps having the same recurring dream. Kim then visits Tihi and tells her that her friend keeps dreaming about a well. He has nail scratches and saw a 4-digit number. She asks her if it had anything to do with her. Tihi tells her that her father used to run the Oksu orphanage, and those numbers are the admission dates of the children and the dates when he got paid. Kim says someone mentioned there was a big grudge surrounding Oksu Station, and asks if could it be about the children. Tihi says she is not sure, and Kim asks her was there a phone among her brother's things. They examine Tiho's phone and discover a video he recorded. In the video, Tiho explains that he is at Oksu Station's old platform and mentions an old construction tunnel in that direction. As he proceeds, he stumbles upon some bones, leading Kim to conclude that the children from the orphanage may have been buried there. Kim and Yuan quickly reach the tunnel, and Yuan activates the camera on his phone to document their findings. As they proceed, an eerie presence ahead of them becomes apparent, steadily advancing toward them. Suddenly, a ghost materializes in front of him, sending shivers down Yuan's spine. Kim asks him if he is okay. However, at that moment, he hears her voice coming from a distance. When he turns around, he's horrified to see the same ghost reappearing in front of him. Kim then reaches there, and trembling with fear, Yuan tries to explain to her that he's uncertain about what's happening. They then move forward, where they find a door. They go inside through that door and finally, they find that place. They wonder how did they end up getting buried here and then begins digging up that place. Suddenly, a ghost grabs Kim's arm, due to which they get terrified. The spirit of many children then begins coming out of that spot and stands in front of them. Kim gathers courage and says that she will tell the world about their grudge. The spirits react with screams, and suddenly, they all vanish, leaving behind only their remains as a chilling testament to their tragic story. The next day, Kim goes to Miss Mo and tells her that she wrote the incident report and asks her if she checked the article. Miss Mo says she asked her to drop the well story, and yet she still wrote it, so she is suspending her. Outside, the editor provides Kim with some context regarding Miss Mo's reaction. He explains that when Miss Mo was in charge of the city desk, she had investigated the well story but had been convinced that revealing her findings might lead to construction delays. Her boss had decided to cover up the information at the time. Therefore, the revelation of the well story as an exclusive has stirred strong emotions in Miss Mo. Later that night, Yuan has another encounter with the ghost. Terrified, he quickly exits the area. Outside, he encounters Yom and notices that the scratch marks on Yom's hand have disappeared. However, when he checks his own hand, he finds that the mark is still there. He then approaches Yom and asks why he still has the scratches while his own disappeared, to which Yom reveals that he transferred the curse to someone else. Meanwhile, Tihi visits Kim, and she shows her a scratch on her hand. Now it is revealed that Yom had gone to Tihi's house, and at knife point, he had forced her to call the number and transferred his curse on her. Yuan asks him if it was so easy. He could have done it a long time ago, to which he says even if you know how, you must figure out the grudge first. But that woman came by and told him everything. She wanted to calm her brother's soul or something. Here Kim asks Tihi how he found out how to transfer the curse, to which she says his father was almost a shaman, but she is here about something else. She then reveals that when Yom transferred the curse to her, she remembered everything. 30 years ago, all the children of the orphanage were thrown into a well by Tee's dad. He told them that it was a civil defense training day, and he would punish them if they even made a sound. After this, he called 1001, which was Tee's number, to come up. Her friend asked her to ask him to call her name as well. When she started going up, all the children began asking him to call their names. Tee says those kids still remembered that they could live if their names are called. That is why they wanted their names called. Her brother kept crying, begging to get her out, so her name was called for his sake. Kim asks if her father was not her real father, and Tee explains that they were adopted later. Kim then inquires why her father buried the children while closing the orphanage. Tee shows her a diary and explains that she found it among her father's things. She reveals that her father was involved in organ trafficking and buried the children to get rid of the evidence. The next day, Yuwon calls Kim and informs her that he lost his phone, so he changed his number. He provides her with his new number, which she repeats. During the conversation, he reveals that he has transferred his curse to her. After this, Kim consults Yo, and he explains that the location doesn't matter for transferring the curse. The person just has to stay close, and they need to know about the children. Belief in the curse is not a requirement for it to be transferred. Later, she discovers that her company has published her article without crediting her name. Furious, she calls her company and demands to know how they could take her article and change the headline without her permission. Soon after, she receives a call from HR, informing her that the boss wants her to resign from her position. Kim storms into her office, her anger palpable, and confronts Miss Mo about her knowledge of the Oksu orphanage's dark secrets, including organ trafficking. Miss Mo vehemently denies any knowledge of such heinous acts. In response, Kim demands that Miss Mo read aloud a series of numbers, insisting that it will silence her and make her leave. Miss Mo, perplexed, picks up the paper and reads the numbers aloud. Kim then departs from the office, submitting her resignation letter as she leaves, and the curse transfers to Miss Mo. Thanks for joining us on our horror movie recap adventure. If you enjoyed the chills, subscribing would mean a lot. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and keep the terror alive. Stay spooky and see you soon.